Welcome to Two Guys.
A girl.
and an MBA.
What would Finland, Sweden, Denmark be without money, like oil money, right? What would they be? What would Norway be? I mean, the largest sovereign wealth fund on planet Earth, 1 trillion. They did it right. I think Iceland, another one, not a Scandinavian, but kind of close. What would they be without money? How would that index be impacted? Because you can pretend that you're happy without money, but I don't think that's true. And I'm talking about, compared, if you drew up the map again and you watch the continent that has the most unhappy, it's Africa, right?
Yeah.
Resource rich, but in their evolution, they're in the early stages, where Denmark and Sweden, Norway are way at the other end. Even America is not where the Scandinavians are with their evolution of their country and finding wealth for everybody. I think a lot of countries are still struggling, but I think we can all make up this touchy-feely esoteric thing that you don't need money to be happy. I don't think so. You need cold, hard cash.
Yeah, as you point out, it's the historically colonized countries, Africa, India is pretty deep purple on that map. Parts of South America. This is the global South. These are the even Russia, Ukraine. These are the places that have been exploited over the generations and basically pillaged, right? So you can, maybe some of these countries are still catching up. I know in the Middle East it is like, when you have all this hundreds or thousands of years I mean, Kuwait's been since 1961 a country, less than 100 years. And so it's way behind in civics and even just basic infrastructure, and a lot of the world is like that, where you have a history of colonization, exploitation. You have like a residual, lagging hangover effect of people being not happy. It makes sense. Yeah, I think the economics has a lot to do with it too.
Top 10, Costa Rica and Mexico.
Happy?
They're happy. This is the top 10 2025, and Costa Rica sixth place,
Yeah.
and Mexico is 10. So they're definitely not like high GPT owners.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I think Costa Rica has it great. Two seas and
Great
tourism and
weather they
great
have.
weather. I mean, they're happy, but they're not in their threat constantly. I think Mexico has an interesting balance, but another colony. Um, But I think overall, people in those places, it's GDP's, it could fool you because I think the cost of living for them, they just need a little to be happy. They don't need that GDP comparative to other people because they live a different type of life. And it's interesting. I think people have said this. They go to the poorest countries and just people are more content. They're just content, like you said, with it. It might not hit the metric for income, but generally happier. I had another thing about tourism. I just think I'd throw in some tourism because you're talking about colonization, and we're gonna digress, but maybe you guys can jump on. Like, there's a big push now in Italy and Spain to kick tourists out, and Greece. They're flooding it, right? And they're trying to kick them out.
Mm.
And Joseph, you brought up this notion of colonization, and I don't know if we can talk about it. We'll maybe cut this part out, but I find it a little offensive that in Spain they don't want tourism there, where most of their wealth that's captured has been captured from colonization,
Yeah.
taking advantage of other countries. There's this one mine in I think Bolivia that supplied all the silver or the Spanish bullion.
Hmm.
I think 22 million people died in these mines, that paid for all these monuments and remnants of colonization that people want to go and watch and pay for again, and they're insulted by it. And I understand there's a lot of people in your neighborhood, but they're coming to see these artifacts of the paid for by blood. And I'm cool. I mean, I went to Trevi Fountain and it was packed in Italy, and now they're saying, we're going to glass it off. I just find the whole colonization thing very interesting, where in the continuum of things, countries have passed through that part. How they got their wealth, I don't agree with it, but it happened. And now everybody's,
Well,
and yeah. So
to quote Malcolm X, the chickens may be coming home to roost. So I'll quote CNN here. The
uh-oh.
lowest ranking yet for the United States after dropping out of the top 20 for the first time last year. U.S. ranks 24. This is from CNN. And to touch on the point about, well, first let's talk about that. United States and parts of Europe, declining happiness and social trust. have contributed significantly to the rise of political polarization and votes against the system. So you have, declining trust in institutions, and I think we see that, in the election of Trump, as we've talked about a lot. To touch on the point about the Latin countries, Costa Rica and Mexico, they're both countries' residents have strong social networks and strong perceptions about the direction of their economy and confidence in their leaders and institutions. And I read that to be that they have hope for the future, whereas chickens are more coming home to roost in the United States, maybe, and they're more pessimistic about their future, their kids' futures.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yes.
Please consider subscribing below.
Thank you for being with us. Please leave your comments, feedback, what you think about us, and see you in the next podcast. Bye.